Sam had always been different from the other boys in the small desert town. While they spent their days playing games and running errands, Sam spent most of his time at the edge of the town, where the rocky hills met the wide-open desert. That's where Soldier came into his life, an untamed Mustang, wild as the wind, with a coat that shimmered like bronze under the sun. It wasn't a chance encounter. It was fate. Sam had seen Soldier from a distance a few times before. The Mustang was a free spirit, running with a group of wild horses that roamed the desert. But one day, while riding his old horse, Dusty, Sam spotted Soldier alone near the waterhole. The other wild horses had moved on, and Soldier was standing still, his amber eyes watching Sam with an intensity that seemed to see right through him. Without thinking, Sam dismounted and walked toward the Mustang, his heart racing. Dusty nickered nervously behind him, but Sam ignored the warning signs. He had always felt a strange pull toward Soldier, as if there was something deep inside the Mustang that understood him. Sam wasn't sure what it was, but the connection between them was undeniable. When he got close enough, Soldier didn't run. Instead, he took a step toward Sam, his long mane blowing in the wind. Sam stood frozen for a moment, then gently reached out, his hand trembling. He placed it on Soldier's neck, and for the first time in his life, Sam felt as if he was touching something powerful, something more than just flesh and bone. He whispered softly, "I'm not going to hurt you." For a long time, the two stood there, Sam's hand resting on Soldier's neck, the world around them silent. It was a bond formed in the stillness, an understanding that went beyond words. Sam knew then that Soldier wasn't just any horse. He was something special. More than that, he felt as though Soldier was meant to be his, like the Mustang had been waiting for him. From that day on, Sam visited Soldier every chance he got. He would bring water, feed him scraps of food, and spend hours talking to the Mustang, even though he knew Soldier couldn't understand him. Still, the Mustang never backed away. He would stand there, listening, and Sam began to feel that Soldier understood more than anyone else ever could. One afternoon, after several weeks of visits, Sam stood before Soldier, holding the reins of a saddle he had carefully crafted. "I'm going to call you Soldier," Sam said aloud, a smile spreading across his face. "You're going to be my soldier, a protector, just like my dad." Soldier snorted softly, but there was something almost like a nod in the way the Mustang held his gaze. It was a promise, Sam thought, a promise that no one else could understand, except him and Soldier. As Sam mounted Soldier for the first time, he felt a surge of pride. The townspeople had always seen him as an outsider, but now, with Soldier at his side, he felt invincible. The Mustang was more than a horse. He was a companion, a friend, and, in Sam's eyes, a soldier who would fight beside him through anything. But when Sam returned to town, riding Soldier through the dirt streets, the laughter started. The townspeople, who had seen Sam as a quiet, imaginative boy, couldn't help but chuckle at the sight of the wild Mustang and his rider. Some even called out mockingly, "What's this? A soldier, huh?" But Sam didn't care. He knew the truth. Soldier was no ordinary horse. He was a warrior. And in Sam's heart, he knew one day, Soldier would prove them all wrong. The town's laughter echoed through the dusty streets, a sound that Sam quickly grew accustomed to, even if it stung a little more each time. Every day, as he rode Soldier through the narrow lanes, the townsfolk couldn't resist making snide remarks. The older men who gathered outside the saloon would shake their heads and mutter, "That boy's lost his mind." The women would smile thinly, exchanging looks that spoke volumes, expressions that mixed concern with disbelief. Sam had always been a quiet, introspective boy, but now, with Soldier at his side, the townspeople seemed to think he was chasing some wild, unattainable dream. "You really think that horse is a soldier?" one of the ranchers, Mr. Colton, said one afternoon, laughing heartily as he wiped sweat from his brow. He had witnessed Sam riding Soldier around the paddock, practicing moves that looked more like a battlefield than a pasture. "You know, you're just asking for trouble. Horses don't fight wars, kid. Sam felt a rush of frustration, but bit his lip. He could have argued, told them that they didn't understand what soldier meant to him, but he stayed silent, choosing instead to walk past the rancher, keeping his head high. Soldier, too, seemed unbothered by the words. His gait was steady and strong, like a soldier marching in the face of adversity. Sam had seen the way Soldier had protected him during their training rides. There was strength in the Mustang, strength that went far beyond muscle. As the days went by, Sam found himself seeking refuge with Soldier more and more. The boy and his horse would wander into the desert together, away from the mocking voices of the town. It was here, under the vast sky, where Sam felt truly at peace. Soldier's presence was a reminder that not everyone needed to understand their bond. What mattered was that Sam believed in it. One afternoon, as Sam worked with Soldier near a canyon just outside of town, he overheard a conversation between two ranchers who were passing by on horseback. "Poor kid. He thinks that horse is a soldier," one of them said with a shake of his head. "A soldier doesn't ride a horse like that. You don't get to choose your soldiers. They're born for battle." The other rancher grunted in agreement. "That boy's gonna learn the hard way. A horse is just a horse." Sam clenched his fists. He didn't want to hear any more. His heart ached, but he pushed through it. He didn't care if the whole town thought he was delusional. What mattered was the connection he shared with Soldier. The way Soldier's eyes softened when Sam spoke to him. The way the Mustang trusted him. And how Sam trusted Soldier in return. The world may laugh at them, but Sam wasn't going to give up on the horse he called Soldier. He patted Soldier's mane, the familiar feeling of the horse's warmth grounding him. "Don't listen to them, Soldier," he whispered. "They don't know you. They don't know what you're capable of." Sam looked out toward the horizon, where the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows over the desert. He knew Soldier was more than just a horse. He was something more, a companion, a partner, a soldier in a world that didn't understand him. Sam believed with all his heart that Soldier would prove them all wrong one day. And no matter how much they laughed now, Sam knew that the day would come when the whole town would see the Mustang for what he truly was. A hero. The soldier he had always believed in. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long golden beams over the desert landscape as Sam sat atop Soldier, his mind racing. The wind carried whispers of the wild stallion that had been causing chaos for the local ranchers. It wasn't just any wild horse. It was a terror known for its fierce temperament and unpredictable nature. The ranchers spoke of it with dread, and the whole town had been talking about it for weeks. It had trampled fences, attacked livestock, and even injured a few ranch hands. No one could tame it, no one could catch it, and many said that it was impossible. But Sam had made up his mind. He wasn't going to let fear control him. He knew Soldier, knew the Mustang's spirit, and in his heart, he believed that Soldier was the horse who could take on the challenge. The townspeople hadn't missed the news of the wild stallion. They were already murmuring about it, speculating on who would step up to the challenge. Sam overheard them one evening as he rode through town. They were gathered outside the local store, exchanging stories and opinions. "You think Sam's really going after that wild stallion?" Mr. Colton asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. "That boy doesn't stand a chance. He's just a kid, and that stallion's nothing like Soldier." Sam lowered his head, riding past them quickly, his cheeks burning. He hadn't meant for anyone to hear him, but now that the challenge was out there, he couldn't back down. It didn't matter what they thought. What mattered was that he believed in Soldier, and Soldier believed in him. Sam gathered his courage, walking back to Soldier's paddock that evening as the sun sank lower in the sky, casting deep oranges and reds across the desert. He talked softly to his horse, his voice low and steady. "We're going to show them, Soldier. We'll prove them wrong." The next morning, he saddled Soldier with practiced hands, the saddle creaking slightly as he tightened the straps. He could feel Soldier's muscles tense under him as they prepared to leave the safety of the paddock. Sam's heart raced with excitement and nerves. This wasn't just another ride. This was different. This was a test of everything they had worked for. As they ventured into the open desert, Sam's mind drifted back to the laughter and mockery of the townspeople. The doubt in their voices still stung, but Sam knew that what Soldier had was more than what any of those ranchers or townsfolk could understand. Soldier wasn't just any horse. He had been with Sam through thick and thin. He was brave, loyal, and unshakable. The Mustang had never let Sam down, and Sam wasn't about to let Soldier down now. They rode for hours, the landscape changing as they got closer to where the wild stallion had been spotted. The terrain grew rougher, the earth cracked and dry beneath their hooves. Sam knew this would be a battle. It wouldn't be easy, and Soldier would need every ounce of strength, courage, and wisdom he had. Eventually, as the sun began to set, Sam spotted a shadow moving in the distance. The wild stallion. Its dark silhouette cut through the desert like a predator, graceful and wild. Sam's pulse quickened. This was it. He leaned forward, speaking to Soldier in a low voice. "Stay close, Soldier. We can do this. I believe in you." With that, he urged Soldier forward, and they rode toward the stallion, ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead. The wild stallion was about to meet its match. Sam's heart pounded with anticipation. It was time to show the town, and everyone who doubted them, that Soldier was more than just a horse. He was a warrior. The wild stallion was like a shadow, its dark coat almost blending with the desert's evening light. As Sam and Soldier approached, the stallion's ears flicked back, and its eyes locked onto them with an intensity that made Sam's heart race. The horse was massive, its powerful muscles rippling beneath its coat. It stood tall and proud, the embodiment of freedom and strength, its nostrils flaring as it snorted in warning. Sam's breath caught in his throat, but he didn't hesitate. He trusted Soldier, and in that moment, he knew Soldier trusted him in return. He tightened his grip on the reins, whispering to Soldier, "Stay calm. We can do this." Soldier, with his steady gaze, seemed to understand. His hooves dug into the dry earth as he planted himself firmly in place, his body taut but not panicked. Sam could feel the Mustang's quiet strength beneath him, a strength that went beyond brute force. This was the spirit of a warrior, one that had faced challenges and overcome them without fear. The wild stallion pawed at the ground, snorting fiercely, its hooves digging deep into the sand as if preparing for battle. It took a step forward, muscles coiled, ready to charge. Sam felt a rush of adrenaline, but he stayed calm. He had faced dangers before, but nothing like this. This wasn't just a fight for control. It was a battle of wills. With a sudden burst of speed, the stallion lunged forward, its hooves pounding the earth in a rhythmic thunder. Sam urged Soldier into motion, guiding him with his legs and hands. Soldier sprang into action, his body responding instinctively to the cues Sam gave. The two moved as one, Sam's body leaning with Soldier's movements, his focus sharp as a hawk's. The wild stallion came at them with ferocity, its hooves kicking up dust as it charged straight for Soldier. But Sam wasn't afraid. He had faith in Soldier's ability to face any challenge, and as the stallion barreled toward them, Soldier swerved at the last moment, his hooves kicking up a spray of dirt. The wild stallion veered off course, surprised by Soldier's agility and precision. Sam felt a surge of pride. Soldier wasn't just fast, he was strategic. The Mustang's experience in the wild gave him an edge. Soldier was no ordinary horse. He knew the terrain, the way the desert wind moved, and how to outsmart an opponent. Sam knew this fight wasn't about overpowering the stallion. It was about outlasting it, about proving that Soldier had the strength to match the wild horse's spirit. For what seemed like hours, they circled each other, the stallion charging again and again, only for Soldier to dance out of the way, his movements graceful and swift. The wild stallion grew more frustrated with each failed attempt, its muscles twitching, its energy draining. Slowly, its movements became less coordinated, its anger giving way to exhaustion. Sam could see it. The wild stallion's spirit was still fierce, but it was beginning to falter. It was starting to recognize that Soldier wasn't just a horse. It was a soldier, a force of nature. Sam pushed Soldier forward one last time, urging him to make the final move. With a powerful surge, Soldier dashed toward the stallion, his hooves pounding the earth with a steady rhythm. The wild stallion hesitated for just a moment, its confidence wavering, and that was all it took. Soldier lunged forward, catching the stallion by the neck with a precise, well-timed move. The wild stallion froze, the fight draining out of it as it realized it had met its match. Soldier stood tall, his body trembling slightly from the exertion, but his eyes never wavered. He was calm, proud, and victorious. Sam dismounted, his heart pounding in his chest, and walked over to Soldier. He gently patted the Mustang's neck, whispering, "We did it, Soldier. You proved them wrong." The wild stallion, now defeated, stood still, breathing heavily. Sam didn't force it to submit, but instead he allowed the wild horse to catch its breath. There was no need for a fight anymore. The stallion, humbled by Soldier's unwavering strength, had given up. And in that moment, Sam knew that Soldier had done what no one else could have done. He had won the battle, not through violence, but through sheer willpower, loyalty, and courage. As the sun set behind them, casting a golden glow over the desert, Sam knew that the townspeople would never laugh again. Soldier had proven that he was more than just a horse. He was a soldier in every sense of the word. The town was silent the next day. News of what Sam and Soldier had done spread like wildfire, carried by the whispers of ranchers and travelers who had witnessed the dramatic showdown. The laughter that once echoed through the dusty streets now seemed like a distant memory, replaced by a quiet reverence. Sam could feel the change as soon as he rode Soldier into town that afternoon, the weight of the townspeople's gaze heavy upon him. When Sam entered the town square, the usual chatter and clinking of tools had paused. People stopped in their tracks, eyes wide with disbelief, watching as Sam and Soldier trotted through the center of town. No one spoke at first. It was as if they were all waiting for the punchline of a joke, only there was no punchline. The wild stallion had been bested, tamed by a boy, and his Mustang. Sam's heart pounded in his chest. He could sense the shift in the air, the realization that Soldier was not just any horse. He was a warrior, a protector, a soldier in every sense of the word. The townsfolk, who had once scoffed at the boy and his Mustang, now looked at him with a mixture of awe and respect. Mr. Colton, who had been one of the loudest skeptics, was the first to speak. He stood near the blacksmith's shop, his arms folded across his chest, watching Sam and Soldier approach. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered under his breath. Then louder he added, "Guess I owe you an apology, boy. You and your horse sure showed us all something." Sam didn't respond at first. He kept his gaze forward, but his heart swelled at the acknowledgement. It wasn't just Colton's words. It was the way the other townspeople had begun to change. They weren't laughing now. They were talking in hushed tones, their expressions thoughtful. A woman from the general store, who had often looked at Sam with pity in the past, walked up to him. "I never thought I'd see the day," she said, shaking her head with a small smile. "Your Mustang really did it, didn't he?" Sam gave her a small nod. "Soldiers always had it in him. I just had to believe." "Seems like you were right all along," she said softly, her voice filled with a new respect. The weight of the previous weeks, the laughter, the ridicule, all seemed to lift off Sam's shoulders in that moment. It wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about Soldier and the bond they shared. Sam hadn't needed the approval of the town to know what Soldier was capable of, but seeing their change of heart was still sweet. He looked down at his Mustang, who stood tall and calm, as if he had just completed another day of work. "We didn't do it for them," Sam whispered to Soldier, as though the Mustang could hear his thoughts. "We did it for us." Soldier nudged Sam's shoulder gently, as if in agreement, and Sam grinned. The town's doubts had once stung, but now it didn't matter. They had both proven something far more important, that true strength comes from within, not from the opinions of others. As Sam and Soldier made their way through the town, the crowds began to part, and people started to gather in small groups, talking excitedly among themselves. Some were still in disbelief, while others were eager to share their own versions of the story. But what mattered most to Sam was the look on the faces of the people who had once laughed at him. The smiles were different now, more genuine, filled with newfound admiration. They weren't just respecting Soldier. They were beginning to respect Sam, too. And while he hadn't needed their validation before, it felt good to know that they understood now. Sam and Soldier had proven that with loyalty, courage, and belief in each other, anything was possible. It was no longer about being a laughingstock in the eyes of the town. It was about the bond they shared. The soldier and the boy. Together, they were unstoppable. And from that moment on, the town would never forget the day the Mustang became a soldier. The days following Soldier's victory over the wild stallion were filled with a newfound peace. The townspeople no longer laughed or whispered behind Sam's back. Instead, there was a quiet respect in the air, a sense that Sam and Soldier had earned their place among the ranchers and farmers, and maybe even more. Sam had always felt like an outsider, but now he was part of something bigger, a team, a family. Soldier had become not just a horse, but a symbol of resilience and strength. But Sam knew that peace was fragile. He could feel it, that subtle shift in the air, like a storm brewing on the horizon. Something wasn't right, though he couldn't quite put his finger on it. It wasn't long before the first signs of trouble began to surface. One morning, as Sam and Soldier rode out to the edge of the desert for their usual training, they noticed something strange. The wind had shifted. It wasn't the usual dry, warm breeze. This was colder, sharper, carrying with it a sense of foreboding. Sam's stomach tightened, but he shook it off. Maybe it was just his imagination. They rode deeper into the desert, further than they had gone in weeks, when Soldier suddenly stopped, his ears pricking forward. Sam instinctively pulled on the reins, his gaze darting around. Soldier had always been aware of his surroundings, but today, the Mustang seemed more alert than ever. "What is it, boy?" Sam murmured, his hand resting gently on Soldier's mane. He knew better than to ignore the signs. Soldier was rarely spooked unless something was wrong. Then Sam heard it, a faint sound like the crackling of dry leaves, followed by a low, distant rumble. The ground beneath them trembled slightly, just enough for Sam to notice. His heart skipped a beat. There was something wrong, something that felt off. He urged Soldier forward, but the Mustang hesitated, his body tense. Suddenly, the ground gave way beneath them. Soldier reared up, his hooves striking the air as Sam gripped the reins desperately. Sam's heart raced as a crack opened in the earth just ahead of them. The sand shifted and swirled, and Sam realized, with a sinking feeling in his stomach, that they were near a sinkhole. "Hold on, Soldier," Sam shouted, trying to keep the Mustang steady. Soldier's powerful legs pushed against the ground as he tried to back away, but the earth around them was unstable, shifting rapidly. Sam had only one choice. With a surge of adrenaline, he urged Soldier to turn and gallop back toward safety, away from the growing danger. But the terrain was unpredictable, and the sinkhole was spreading, pulling the sand and earth into its widening maw. The wind whipped through the air, carrying with it a low, ominous sound, like the earth groaning beneath them. With every ounce of courage, Sam held on tightly, guiding Soldier as they raced toward the only path out of danger. The sinkhole was relentless, its edge creeping ever closer, but Soldier was fast, his muscles rippling with power as he sprinted through the desert. Sam could feel the ground trembling beneath them, with every pounding hoofbeat. But just as they neared the edge of the sinkhole, Sam heard a sharp crack, a sound that seemed to come from deep within the earth. Without warning, a section of the ground beneath them crumbled, sending up a cloud of dust and sand. For a split second, Sam feared they wouldn't make it. Soldier's hooves barely managed to catch the solid ground, but with one final burst of speed, they surged past the danger. They made it. Sam's breath came in ragged gasps as he pulled Soldier to a halt, the Mustang's chest heaving with exertion. They were safe, for now. Sam glanced back at the desert behind them, where the sinkhole had swallowed the earth whole. He realized that they had narrowly escaped something far worse than anything he had ever faced before. Whatever had caused that sinkhole, whatever was disturbing the desert, Sam knew one thing for certain. This wasn't over. Danger still lurked in the shadows, and it was coming for them. Soldier had saved them today, but Sam had a feeling that what was coming next would take everything they had, and more. The incident with the sinkhole left Sam uneasy, but it also sparked something deeper within him. He had always known that the desert was unpredictable, but this felt different. There was a strange energy in the air, an unsettled tension that seemed to stretch across the land. Something, or someone, was stirring in the shadows, and Sam had no idea what it was, but he felt it was connected to the land itself. For days after the close call, Sam and Soldier stayed close to town. Sam knew he couldn't ignore the signs any longer. The earth had cracked beneath them, and the desert had unleashed its hidden danger with little warning. It was as if nature itself had spoken, warning them to be careful. But of what? It wasn't long before Sam began to hear rumors. Late-night conversations in the saloon, hushed voices among the ranchers, talk of something far more sinister than a natural disaster. Word spread that there had been reports of strange occurrences all across the desert. Sinkholes weren't the only things happening. The livestock of several nearby ranchers had gone missing, and odd footprints had been found deep in the sand, marking a path no one could explain. Sam's curiosity grew with each passing day. He couldn't sit idly by while danger loomed so close. One evening, after hearing more unsettling whispers about the desert's strange happenings, he made up his mind. He had to investigate. There was a mystery in the air, and Sam felt an undeniable pull to uncover the truth. With Soldier by his side, Sam prepared to venture into the desert once again. The air was heavy as they set out in the cool of the early morning. The sun not yet risen. The winds had calmed, but there was still an eerie silence hanging over the land. Sam couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them, waiting for the right moment to strike. They rode for hours, deeper into the desert than Sam had ever gone before. Soldier, ever watchful, moved with confidence, his hooves silent against the sand. But even the Mustang seemed to sense the weight of the moment. There was a strange stillness in the air, as if the desert itself held its breath. Eventually, they came upon a part of the desert Sam had never seen before. The landscape was stark, barren, an expanse of cracked earth and sparse vegetation. The wind had stopped completely, leaving behind an unnatural calm. As they rode through this deadened patch of land, Soldier's ears flicked back, his muscles tensing beneath Sam. The Mustang was on high alert, his every step cautious. Then they came upon a series of deep cracks in the earth, wider and more jagged than the sinkhole Sam had narrowly escaped. These fissures were unnatural, as if something had forced them open from below. The ground around them seemed to pulse, almost as if it were alive, the edges of the cracks shimmering in the dim light. Sam's heart raced as he looked down into the fissures. Something wasn't right. These cracks hadn't been here yesterday. They were new, freshly made, and far too precise to be the result of simple natural erosion. "That's it," Sam whispered to Soldier, his voice barely audible. He knew they had reached the heart of the mystery, and whatever it was far from ordinary. These cracks, these unnatural fissures, weren't just the desert's response to the weather or time. No, something had caused them. Something powerful, something dark. Before Sam could react, Soldier snorted sharply, his head jerking toward a nearby ridge. Sam followed the Mustang's gaze, his eyes narrowing. There, silhouetted against the dim light of the horizon, was something he hadn't expected. A figure, cloaked in shadow, standing at the edge of the crack, watching them. Sam's breath caught in his throat. He couldn't see their face, but he could feel the weight of their presence, as if they were an undeniable force, one that Sam couldn't ignore. The figure stood perfectly still, their silhouette blending into the desert's shadow. Before Sam could speak, the figure turned, disappearing into the distance as quickly as they had appeared. "Who are you?" Sam muttered under his breath. But the figure was already gone. With a feeling of unease settling deep in his stomach, Sam urged Soldier to follow. The mystery was far from solved, and Sam knew that whatever threat had awakened in the desert, he and Soldier were now at the heart of it. The danger was no longer just a whisper, it was real, and it was closer than ever. The boy and his Mustang had stumbled upon something far darker than they could have imagined. Sam's pulse raced as Soldier carefully picked his way through the desert, following the path the mysterious figure had taken. The cracks in the earth still glimmered beneath them, as if the very land was alive and watching. Sam couldn't shake the sense of foreboding that had settled over him. Whoever or whatever that figure was, it was no ordinary desert dweller. The sun began to dip low in the sky, casting long shadows across the vast desert as Sam and Soldier continued their trek. Every footstep, every shift in the sand felt amplified in the stillness. Sam's mind raced with questions. What had they seen? What was that figure? And why had they been drawn to this specific place? Sam reached for the map in his pocket, though he knew it wouldn't offer much help out here. There were no towns, no landmarks, just the barren landscape stretching for miles. The only thing that had seemed certain was the strange energy surrounding the desert. And now, this shadowy figure. They rode for hours, the desert growing colder as night fell. The stars above them seemed to flicker with unnatural intensity, like distant eyes watching their every move. Soldier, usually so sure-footed, seemed more skittish than usual, his ears swiveling constantly, searching for any sign of movement. Suddenly, Soldier came to an abrupt halt, his body tense. Sam's heart skipped a beat as he leaned forward. The air had shifted. He could feel it. The change was subtle, but unmistakable. Something was here, something watching them. He scanned the horizon, but there was nothing. No figure, no movement, just the dark, empty expanse of desert. Yet, Sam couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. Then, from the darkness ahead, the ground began to rumble once more, a low, deep vibration, like the earth was quaking. Sam's breath hitched. The cracks, the strange fissures, they were starting to glow, their edges shimmering with an eerie light. "Soldier," Sam whispered, his voice tight with fear. "We need to move." But as he turned to urge Soldier onward, the rumbling intensified. The earth trembled beneath them, and suddenly, the ground beneath Sam's feet split open, sending a jagged crack racing toward them. Without warning, a dark shape shot up from the earth, bursting forth with explosive force. Sam gasped, clutching the reins as Soldier reared back in panic. The shadowy figure was back, but this time it wasn't alone. From the cracks in the desert floor, shadowy creatures began to emerge, their forms flickering in and out of view. They looked like ghosts, or perhaps wraiths, faint, glowing silhouettes with elongated limbs and hollow, empty eyes. There was no sound as they appeared, only the unsettling sense that the desert was alive with something ancient and untamable. "Get back, Soldier," Sam shouted, his voice trembling. He could feel the terror rising in his chest, but he couldn't let fear control him. He had to protect Soldier. He had to protect himself. Soldier snorted in panic, backing up slowly, his muscles trembling. The creatures moved toward them, circling like predators, their presence suffocating. Sam's mind raced. These weren't just ordinary desert spirits. They were something more, something far more dangerous. The creatures didn't speak. They didn't need to. Sam could feel their malice, their hunger, a cold force pressing in from all sides. And at the center of it all, standing on the edge of the crack, was the figure, taller now, more imposing. their face still hidden, their eyes glowing faintly with an unnatural light. Sam's heart hammered in his chest as the figure raised a hand, and the creatures stopped moving. The desert fell silent once again, as if holding its breath. "We are the guardians of the desert," the figure's voice echoed, deep and hollow. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, vibrating in Sam's very bones. "You have awakened us." Sam's mind raced. What are you?" he asked, his voice trembling. "We are the ancient spirits of the land," the figure replied. "And now that you have disturbed the earth, you will face the consequences." The realization hit Sam like a cold wave. The desert wasn't just shifting because of natural causes, it was reacting to something much older. And Sam and Soldier had unknowingly stumbled upon a force far beyond their control. His eyes darted around. The glowing creatures were closing in, their forms becoming clearer, their hollow eyes locked on Sam and Soldier. Sam swallowed hard. He wasn't sure what was about to happen, but one thing was certain: the battle for the desert was far from over.